All right. Good morning, everybody. I am here with Dr. Todd from Cellcore. We're going to do a little discussion on the Parakit. But before we dive in, or the infamous Parakit, I should say, and the infamous Dr. Todd. So, Doctor, just give us a little intro about who you are, what you do.
So I'm Dr. Todd Watts. I am here in the great state of Idaho, and originally from California years ago, and just have a great practice here where we specialize in chronic illness, Lyme disease, mold toxicity, parasite infections, and been doing this for over 10 years. And founded Cellcore and brought Dr. Jay Davidson on with me, and we worked together since the beginning of Cellcore. The journey that I've had is why we're here in the first place, meaning that I had chronic Lyme disease. I had issues. Dr. J's wife almost died twice from Lyme disease per se. And as we've peeled back the layers of the onions, we created a business or a company by accident, Cellcore, because we were trying to get people better, including myself and his wife. And in that case, we brought products to the market that really work and that make a big difference and impact. And we brought a different approach to that, which is more of a foundational approach, looking at why the immune system is disrupted, why people have issues, and parasites play a major role in that doctors aren't educated on, which is why we have our Parakit, and why, so many people benefit so much from that. Karen, you could probably, testify to that as far as a lot of your people that you've worked with have really benefited from it, as well as many patients of mine.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I get emails every week of people sending me very colorful, vivid pictures of their poo, which I really don't mind at all. Hey, I'm the digestive warrior. I can handle it. I've been through it myself. And I mean, is it weird to say I actually enjoy it? I mean, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Sure. What comes out. I mean, let's be blunt and keep it real. This is a discussion about parasites, and you do visibly often see them come out. Not always, just depending on the type, right? I mean, tapeworms, ropeworms, you're going to often see broken pieces, etc. And but wow, it might be intense in that process watching them come out, and I'm jumping ahead, but it just, that you saying that triggered my, my daily experience of helping people with the Parakit, So I guess let's start really broad. Dr. Todd, who do you think I get this question all the time, and it's just so great hearing it straight from you. Who do you think would benefit from the Parakit? Because I'm often, not trying to convince, but some people are, oh, you only get parasites from, traveling to third world countries. Oh, you only get parasites, and there's a lot of myths around parasites, how you contract them, if we all carry them. So in your opinion, who would benefit from this?
Well, you only get parasites if you breathe air.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's everybody.
Or if you have a pulse, as Cellcore likes to say.
I always joke, if you have a pulse, you have a parasite.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have any symptoms necessarily. I've worked with high-level athletes that are doing fantastic. Like, but look, we want to optimize your health.
Yep.
Took through a parasite protocol. All of a sudden, their recovery was better. Their time was better. And here they were, like, running Spartan races and doing all kinds of amazing things. And I helped them improve and recover better. And so everybody, literally, parasites are within your food, in your vegetables, in your meat. It's in your water supply. It could be in the lake. I've worked with people that it can penetrate the skin, go up through there. If you have a dog, a cat, if you
live with animals, I mean,
yeah, and people as well.
And people, yeah, and gosh, if you eat sushi, I mean,
oh man,
there you go. So.
Yeah, so it's part of living in this world, and there's balance, right? And the terrain and the microbiome, and parasites do help in some ways, but eventually they damage. And
right.
So people that get headaches or get a skin rash or have any type, really almost any symptom can be related back to a parasite. Yep. It may not be a parasite, but could be contributed towards that. So if you just, do cleanses every so often, then you're going to be much healthier. And you're not going to get sick near as much in the wintertime. People get colds and flus. If you're clearing parasites, you hardly get that. And taking binders,
Yep.
You're just going to feel more energy, more vitality. You're going to have better digestion. It's all the way around.
Absolutely. And a lot of things I've found, clinically are just, I mean, things are mimicking these other disorders, like IBS, irritable. I like to call it irritable bullshit. Such an umbrella term that means nothing, right? I mean, how many people have you seen with IBS where it's actually they just have parasites? And I mean, we need, we can live in homeostasis with a healthy level of them, but it's when that cup overfloweth and the toxic burden overfloweth that it becomes a real problem.
Absolutely. And that's why nature brings to us the many herbs and compounds,
Yeah.
right? That from nature that allows us to take them and then be able to keep those in balance or push them out to the way we need them.
Exactly. Yeah. Does the Parakit only address parasites?
No, a lot of those, you think about like para 4, for example, or para 3, para 2, all those things address whether it's a fungus or a candida or mold. It addresses bacteria that's maybe overgrown. It has antioxidant properties. There's a variety of herbs in there that have antioxidant properties that help overall health. One of the products in para 2, for example, amla, that is an Ayurvedic blend, but amla has a lot of vitamin C in it. And so there's a lot of health benefits in benefiting not just the parasites, but overall just gut cleansing, health and vitality in general, immune system.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I actually use it all the time for yeast infections too. And they're like, "Why are you putting me on a parasite cleanse if I have candida or a yeast over?" And because the compounds are just so effective for so many things. It's such a layered approach.
Yeah, you can't get a natural compound say it's just for parasites. Now, is it very effective, which is why we named it for a parasite? Sure, but no, it's a full on wide range of spectrum there.
Exactly. Yeah. What kind of share with us what kind of environment do parasites thrive in?
They thrive in a couple different environments. One, a toxic environment. So meaning that we are exposed to toxins in our food, air, and water. No matter what, it's almost impossible to avoid these chemicals that are in our environment and in our food supply, even water supply and air that they're spraying. The other thing is in an environment of stress, meaning that whether it's emotional, mental stress, whatever there might be, that creates an environment that allows them to thrive and proliferate.
Yeah, right. I mean, it seems like even the pesticides that we're constantly breathing in, all the Roundup, people are still somehow spraying. It seems like just that alone is going to, contribute to an environment, let alone all the modern day stressors and all the other chemicals we're constantly exposed to. So what's a really common place that parasites hang out?
Well, one is the digestive system, large intestine most commonly, and then the small intestine, depending on the parasite. There's specific ones like threadworm, and those come out. They look like little sesame seeds, and so a lot of people are like, "Oh, past this stuff, it looks like sesame seeds, but I didn't eat sesame seeds." Well, that's probably threadworm. And then those go into the lungs. So it's something like the roundworms, threadworms. They'll do a life cycle that go into the lungs. And then they'll come back out during the full moon and go down into the digestive system, sinuses as well. And then you have your flukes. So I see a lot of people pass liver flukes, tons of pictures of liver flukes come in to me all the time. And then there's pancreatic flukes. So as people are struggling with diabetic type stuff, they got to consider detoxing and supporting clearing out parasites, lung flukes. So people that have any issues of breathing, asthma, bronchitis, and things. You got to clear that stuff out. And then intestinal flukes, I know Dr. Hulda Clark, she talks about intestinal flukes. And there's both right here.
Yep.
And, that's like, you get colon cancer and it leads to different diseases in the gut. And I got all kinds of anti-parasite or all kinds of parasite books there.
Yeah,
That
I have all her books too, and she was really kind of, the pioneer of all this stuff. A lot of this stuff. How many years ago was her work?
that was years, decades ago. But
Decades.
but there's also been a lot of other ones. So I have a
Oh
whole
yeah,
stack of books here that other people have written. But she really did a great job on tying together chemicals and toxins,
exactly.
parasites, and how they relate to stuff. Now, a lot of people out there more medical Western medical trained and naturopathic as well did kind of just try and discredit the work she did. But I take there's a lot of good that she shows us because
Absolutely. Yeah.
she shows that there's a tie-in with chemical toxicity and parasites that create all
Yeah.
these health issues that you need to
Yeah.
address
Yeah.
these problems. And also just for optimal vitality and longevity and anti-aging, why live with an organism that's breaking you down faster?
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Her work really spurred a lot. And I think,
Yes.
there's been a lot of resurgence. I don't want to say resurgence, but companies like Cellcore now are taking this work and it's taking it to refining it to a whole new level, such a sophisticated level of really getting so specific with products that can really, really target these organisms. So her work was really just the beginning, but I think it was the foundation for so much to come. So you mentioned the full moon, which I was going to touch on, but since you were later, but since you just mentioned it, we might as well let's tackle that now. Why the full moon? People are so curious. Like, why the full moon? It's magical.
The lunar cycles,
Magic?
right? The lunar cycles that they kind of tend to follow it. And so what you see is that's the standpoint where the larvae come into the digestive system to mature. And that occurs normally during the full moon phase. So if you want to really get a highly effective protocol, full moon time period, hitting it really good for 4, 5, 6, 7 days during that time period would be really, really good. And because you want to address the adult stage, or the worms or the adult form, you want to address the larva and you want to address the eggs.
Yeah.
And so that's what I look at when I'm formulating these products, which I formulated every one of these products here, and the goal was to be able to address each of those, and then also like the Para 3 was to go deeper and be in a tincture form to be able to be absorbed deeper into the body.
Yeah.
It results that way.
Yeah. Para 3. Wow. Just so incredibly powerful. They all are. And they're, they work synergistically, my background is in herbalism. So it's important, people say, well, can I just do Para 1? Can I just do Para 2? Can I just do I mean, you can, and it's not that you won't get results. But these products were designed, the compounds, to work synergistically. They complement each other, and when herbs are taken together, they do things that they wouldn't do isolated, right? So I think if you really are experiencing parasites or symptoms that are presenting that could be parasites, I think it is important to do the whole kit.
Well, and you just don't know. The other thing is you don't know which parasite you have or which
Exactly. Yeah.
bacteria or fungus that's contributing towards your health issues.
Yeah.
So design these products to be able to address many different kinds versus just, oh, here's one we're trying to go after.
Right.
It may require more than one compound.
Yeah.
Or a combination where I'll put high dosing like Para 2 and Para 4 together, or Para 3 and Para 4 together, or Para 1 and Para 3, or I'll bring these together in compounds to be able to be beneficial to clear out more stuff than just trying to. I mean, there's thousands of parasites and organisms that could be affecting your body. Let's try and be more, address more of them than just a single.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, well, actually, I want to touch on is melatonin involved in targeting the full moon time frame?
So it's probably not. It's not something that I've really looked that much into.
Okay, all right.
Factor of sure, it affects sleep. It affects the cycles of everything there, but I haven't done much research.
Okay. I thought I read somewhere in Cellcore's literature that melatonin levels were lower during the full moon time, which lowered immunity, which caused the
Could
parasites to kind of stir. I don't know if that's true.
have written that, but I have different researchers researching different stuff, right? So
Gotcha. Got it. Okay. Well, good to know. Okay. So we know that parasites can release just all kinds of garbage into the body, from neurotoxins to viruses, heavy metals. And then they enter the interstitial fluid around the tissue cells. And then that garbage dumps into the lymphatic system, which should ideally, purge, get rid of all that crap. So, that it's the toxins are just impacting everything. And so on that note, tell us a little bit about how parasites can affect like neurotransmitter pathways.
well, when you look at it, what they do is they release enzymes and toxins. And these can then inhibit our enzymes from working, which then it can affect some of our neurotransmitters. I'll give you an example. So there's a study done, and in that study, they talked about two different organisms, Toxoplasma gondii, which is a parasite protozoan specifically that you can get in a couple different ways, either through people who talk about the kitty litter, right? Changing kitty litter. Don't do that if you're pregnant. You can get this parasite. Well, you can get it whether you're pregnant or not. Also, it can come in pork. So that's one of them. Another one is a schistosome. So the two were this toxoplasma, and then the other one was what we call hookworm. And in the study for those two parasites, they release an enzyme which binds and suppresses our enzyme called GAD67, which then helps to convert glutamate to GABA, which then helps to relax people, and it helps to inhibit different things that need to be inhibited in the body. So then people are more anxious, and there's a relationship to schizophrenia and mental disorders, along with anxiety. And so that's one example from research that it massively affects. It can affect dopamine and serotonin as well, which then can be you look at issues with depression and
Yeah.
lack of motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you. I'm sure I've seen so much, transformation in mental health with people that do a parasite cleanse or two or three. Sometimes you have to do it for an extended period of time if the infection is really, really significant, right? But I mean, even myself, I just saw a drastic difference in my mood and my energy. So I think parasites are so intrinsically impacting mental health these days, because in general, the parasite issue, I think, is largely unaddressed, in our culture. I mean, Cellcore's, on a mission, thank goodness, but I just wonder what society would look like if everyone did parasite cleanses. I mean, it really can be that perfect. That sounds funny, but it really can be that profound.
Absolutely. I've seen it over and over again. That was a key issue that all the practitioners were missing out on.
Yeah.
And you talked about fatigue. There's another one of the most common parasites is roundworm.
Yep.
And you get that from almost any animal.
Yeah.
But it's super common in humans, and it releases enzymes that either can create constipation. Also, it can suppress in the mitochondria, the Krebs cycle. So within that, if you don't have optimal Krebs cycle function, then you don't have optimal mitochondrial function. You get fatigue, and then it affects your immune system, and then it affects all of the different things that you're dependent upon for energy. So it's really
then that's affecting ATP. I mean, I was going to ask you to touch on the Krebs cycle and ATP, so I'm glad you did.
yeah. So then you have chronic fatigue.
Yep.
And that's one of the problems I had is I had severe fatigue, both just overall general fatigue. I had muscle fatigue, and I had brain fatigue. And as I cleared out parasites, also my old general fatigue kind of went away. And then I did deeper dive into toxins, and then my muscle fatigue went away. A lot of my brain fatigue went away.
That's amazing. It never gets old, hearing that. I hear it all the time now with Cellcore, using Cellcore products, and it's just, yeah, never gets old. Okay, so we'll just touch on each product individually, just briefly. I know you kind of mentioned them a little bit already, but tell us about Para One, Mimosa Pudica. Para One is unique in that it's just one single ingredient, where the others are formulas. And blends of herbal compounds. So tell us just briefly about Mimosa Pudica.
So Mimosa Pudica we get it in a seed form. It makes it a gelatinous form, is really sticky. And as it goes through the digestive system, it helps us to help clean things off. We call it like a gut scrubber. Jay always talks about that. It's like a gut scrubber.
Yep.
And it was one of the key elements to helping a lot of my chronic ill patients when I first started using it years ago. And getting breakthroughs. All of a sudden, I had some patients that, like one gal, she could only eat 3 foods without having massive reactions and headaches and fatigue. And it was for 2 years that she only ate these 3 foods.
Wow.
Great limited diet. And then as we just got her on that one product, all of a sudden all the stuff started coming out of her. And some of it, like thick beef jerky, it must have been just a buildup of that mucoid plaque and stuff that was coming out. And 2 feet, 4 feet, but it was life-changing, because what we saw with her was then her ability to all of a sudden start eating other foods. Her headaches and migraines went away. Her ability to have energy started really recovering, and then so she was one of the first patients to get on that product. And then I had other hundreds and thousands of other people then take it and just have that one product changed their lives.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I need something more comprehensive, just, working with stuff. So I talked to a friend of mine who was an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he was like, I really love this formula. The Secretary of Ayush, Dr. Kotecha out of India, he's like the top Ayurvedic medical person within the cabinet there. And he was a practitioner for many, many years, and they're in India. And he's like, oh, these ingredients are great. So then I formulated, okay, how much of each ingredient to put in, and added in some of our fulvic acid to help the assimilation of it into the body. And that's a really great blend for all body types, meaning in Ayurvedic medicine, they call it the doshas. Mm-hmm. And so it helps to address the parasites. So the Vedanta is a great dewormer they use over there. And the neem, they call it the village pharmacy. It can be used for almost anything. And it's a bitter, so it helps to push the parasites and other stuff out. And but then it also has really good microbiome benefits. Mm. And then you use clove. I use clove in there because clove, it helps with early types of any type of infection, but specifically it deals with eggs of the parasites. And then I brought on Para 3 because I knew I needed a tincture and I need something a little more just like boom, like real hit hard type of product. Mm-hmm. And especially for something that I was going through, which was dealing with the threadworm, Strongyloides parasite. Like that was something that I found. I'm like, okay, these are really tough to eradicate. They get in the lungs, the sinuses, they can disseminate throughout the whole body and organs. And so then that's where I created then Para 3 that also has some clove, but also holy basil. And holy basil also it helps with the eggs, the different forms, but also the holy basil helps to drive it through the body. So, it's really beneficial. You see health benefits for joint inflammation, joint pain. But what I did is when I worked with that formula for 2.5 years, I added holy basil into the other ingredients. I had been taking a couple of dropperfuls of it before the holy basil. Once I added the holy basil, I took 2 doses. All of a sudden I had a rash all over my whole body. My hands were all swollen. My feet were swollen. My joints hurt everywhere.
Wow.
Like, okay, it's working.
That's amazing. All from, because it's an adaptogen. So it just.
Yes, it's an adaptogen, but it's also a driver.
Yeah.
That it gets into the joints, which having had Lyme disease and other infections, I'm like, okay, I didn't clear it all out, right? With other stuff. This got it to go even deeper to go with the stuff I was dealing with. And then I started doing some sinus rinses. I put a drop into water and do a lavage rinse. So I did 10 drops. Be very careful. Anybody decides to do that. Maybe start with salt water, which is what comes with it, but because it can burn, you can feel the clove, right? It's hot.
Yeah.
But I do those rinses, and it really, you should see all the parasites I got pictures of people doing, sinus rinses and stuff. But
Wow.
it was great. I mean, it really changed my life, a lot of my patients' life. But I still wanted, there's another product that I really wanted to be able to use, which is where we came with Para4 that helped. Actually, was very mild in how people reacted to it, but very potent in what was coming out of people. And that was Para4. And Para4 has the noni. People know noni or morinda. And there's a lot of health benefits to that just by itself. And then we added the different other products to it to be effective on clearing things out. And so it's been super beneficial for many different things. But now all of a sudden we saw all these roundworms coming at people and just different, right? It's just different parasites. So you look at, I got products from India, I got products from here in the United States, products from South America, the islands, Pacific Islands, things that people utilize from the different regions in the world that were highly effective for parasites. And you find out what's synergistic with each formula, and then how you can be comprehensive. And it just meant breakthroughs for a lot of people each time we introduced one. And it's just been really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. So, okay, we touched on all the products. Let's talk just a little bit about die-off, because that's a big thing, or can be, with the parakeet. Scares a lot of people, also known as like a Herxheimer effect. Sometimes you don't feel so well as these things are dying and coming out of the body. Some people I've seen these, really robust constitutions of, 250-pound men that just, they're expelling things, but they don't really feel that bad from it. I don't know why it is that some people are blessed with these constitutions to where they can just detoxify all day long and feel nothing. But for those of us that can't, those of us with, genetic SNPs and methylation issues and, all the things, die-off can be not so fun and a little bit challenging. So tell me a little bit about that. And then how does that, correlate to why there are different dosing protocols designed by Cellcore?
So there's importance is preparing for doing this. One of the things we put into the protocol is the biotoxin binder, which helps to mop up toxins and reduce some of these effects. But my recommendation usually to people is to do the jumpstart kit. So if you do the jumpstart kit, then you're preparing your liver to make sure it's draining, your kidneys supporting the kidneys and the bowels, and you're getting your body prepared to really to do that in a much better way.
Yeah.
Without the reactions to necessarily the herxing you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I started out, in functional medicine, they say, gut, 75% of everything occurs in the gut or GI system. So with that, I'm like, oh, okay, we need to start clearing parasites and support the GI system. Well, people like you said, were herxing. So I said, okay, what are we missing here? And that's the drainage pathways. We got to be supporting the drainage pathways, doing this kind of work. So then we went, Dr. J and I formulated, we went through and put together the Jumpstart Kit, phase 1, step 1, products that will help support the body to prepare it to be ready to have the energy and the drainage of what's necessary. You got to be pooping. If you're not going to the bathroom, then that's going to be a problem. If your bile, if you got sluggish bile and your liver don't have optimal liver function, which everybody needs a good liver cleanses and get that bile flowing and thinned out, then you're going to possibly react, because if it's not getting out there, then it's going to dump into the bloodstream, and then you're going to feel it, whether it's a headache, a rash, itchy skin, a variety of things there.
Yeah, achy, just overall, just feeling like crap. So TUDCA, taking a biosalt 2 weeks prior to doing the Parakit is really ideal. And I've seen that just make a night and day difference, really opening up those bile ducts, because the bile ducts get really congested with all this garbage, with the parasites and the toxins. Sure. All the waste, so TUDCA, very important 2 weeks prior, at least. Sometimes a week can be sufficient. I like to say anywhere from a week to 2 weeks with TEDCA. What do you think? Prior to,
Yeah, I think 2 weeks, and then you throw in KL support. So you're giving, the kidneys and the liver both support there, along with the advanced TUDCA, because the TUDCA is going to help create new bile, thin the bile. It's an antioxidant, so it's an anti-inflammatory bile acid that our body takes and will then create. So the bile acid will be transformed into TUDCA within the GI system if the GI systems are working properly, because there's bacteria that will do that, but not at that, not the level that we can provide for it, which is why we have the product, because a lot of people struggle with this. And there's so many other health benefits to TUDCA. It's like we have tons of research on pages of that, whether it's helping the brain, the gut, the cells, the mitochondria, of course, the liver, and repairing the liver and getting the liver to work optimally. It's fantastic.
yeah. I just felt a huge difference once I incorporated TEDCA. I hardly ever suggest these days doing a para-kit without bowel mover as well, because you touched on, you've got to keep the bowels moving. So although bowel mover is not included in the actual para-kit, it's the biotoxin binder can for some be slightly constipating. Not all get constipated from it, but some do. And some people get constipated even just from parasite cleansing in general. It seems like it can lean one way or the other, constipation or diarrhea, or just vacillating between the two. And so I love bowel mover because it kind of can help whatever you're doing. It can help move the bowels, but if you have diarrhea, it seems like it can help sort of bulk up the bowel. So I just find it beneficial in every direction to just take it with the kit.
No, I agree, and you're right. I mean, the para one, the mimosa pudica, as this binding and clearing out the gut can cause a little bit of constipation. You want to be sure those bowels are pushing and moving things out.
Yeah.
Enemas, people do enemas; those can be beneficial. So with the para three, believe it or not, that can, be very potent on clearing out whether it's tapeworms, flukes, and other parasites that can be constipating. So those are the two formulas that I found can create some problems there.
Yeah.
Sometimes the binder. I mean, for me, if the binder was that, it gave me really loose stools for months.
Really?
I was purging toxins.
Yeah.
And after a couple of months, I was the beginning using the carboxy or the biotoxin binder along with the HMET binder. I had the raw material, and so I would just do scoops of it and put it in liquid and drink it. And in 2 months, I went from not being able to work out and recover for almost 10-year period of time to being able to have energy and being able to recover and work out again. So I went through my 40s struggling with that to where into my 50s, I've been able to work out and recover.
I'm so happy for you. I know what it's like to deal with, chronically not feeling well. And it's just so great to hear that you're on the other side of that. And, it's like once you've been through that, you don't take health for granted anymore once you're on the other side, So that's a beautiful thing. But you don't feel so well for a while you have it. And, you are sometimes running to the bathroom and with liquid stools, but it's all for the greater good. I often suggest to people, when you start out on the para-kit, we start out in the lower dose, of course. I always, just because you just want to monitor the body, see how it responds to these things, but maybe start it on a Friday night or Saturday morning, just so you're near the bathroom and you can kind of just see what's going to happen, how it's going to go. And then you can just prepare a little better, because you don't want to start on a random Tuesday morning while you're at work, so you can, but maybe you just start on the weekend just to see how it goes.
I've offered that same advice many times.
Okay, good. All right.
Like, wait, you're flying. Don't start it before you get that plane flight. Okay, do not.
Or before you go to a wedding, or something like that. Beyond the safe side.
It's interesting, Karen. I talked. I had a gal. She did a video for me for Eco, right, when I presented, and she told her story. And it's just like one of those things where, look, your life is in a bad position. We worked with her, and I had to be super careful because of all her seizures and the issues she was going through. It was very, very significant neurologically. and her face would droop. She wasn't able to walk at times. She couldn't move, just and then get into seizure mode. Just quality of life is horrible.
Yeah.
In her 30s, and it's like, okay, it's like your life sucks right now, so we just need to push through this. And she'd done MRIs and all kinds of medical stuff, and nobody could figure anything out. And she had a parasite in her brain. Just went through and pushed her, and like, we guys got to go hard at this and push you through this. And she was a champ, and she was willing to do anything. She's like, at this point, she had kids. She wanted her life back because she was
You'll do anything at that point. I know that place, that space.
Yeah. But she said it's just like, it wasn't easy. It was hard. It was miserable, and there was more seizures, and there's more exhaustion, and more in the bed. But within a short period of time, we're able to, as we push through this, get her to where she's back out hiking and doing all this stuff and running her own business now and super successful. And she has a life back.
That's amazing.
Do anything, right? So sometimes, we have to do hard things, and we can do hard things.
We can.
And that's how I feel like I have my life back. Is it's like, man, I had to push through this. It's such a mental battle, parasite realm of to get my health back, that it's like I had to listen to stuff every day and like push myself and motivate myself. But it's so worth going through this to get your health back. Yeah,
absolutely. And wow, I mean, that's a great story. These things are intense. I mean, these parasites, they have their own consciousness, I mean, they're a thing, they're a force to be reckoned with. And so it cannot, it's not the easiest path rooting these things, but yeah, it is so worth it. But sometimes, certain people, they've got to take a little more time off work. They've got to really, really nurture. There's other things we can do to mitigate, the die-off. We can, Epsom salt baths and saunas, taking the binders 30 minutes before saunas, anything to get the lymph system moving and circulating better. Of course, getting the bowels. I like to personally recommend, there's dietary things. I personally like to recommend a more paleo-based diet, at least in the first cleanse, just because the critters can feed on carbohydrates and sugars, things like that. So, just not forever, but just in the beginning, maybe the first month, just at least reducing and minimizing carbs and sugar while you're doing it. So there's all kinds of things that we can do to help mitigate juicing, eating just really, really clean. But it's often just inevitable that we're not going to feel well. But these things do drastically help. The TUDCA, I think the TUDCA was the thing that helped the most for me in mitigating my symptoms. I was just drastic. So is there anything else that comes to mind besides the things that I mentioned that might help?
So some people do colonics, and then some people do the coffee enemas.
Yes.
Those really help to purge and move stuff out. I found that to be good. If you have any like Rife or microcurrent technology, reduce sound and light therapy, that can be very beneficial too.
Coffee enema is huge. I can't believe I forgot that, but coffee enemas can also just make a drastic difference. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. What else? What am I not asking about the Parakit? Is there anything
So let me throw some ideas out there. One is, as you do this, get introduced to it, do your stuff, but consistency is it, and it takes time. This is I tell you, this is a journey. It's not an event. Meaning you're not just doing it and there you go. I took products. I did a parasite cleanse for a year for my own self. I did many different herbs, even medications and stuff. And then I went through and developed my own line here so that I wouldn't be necessarily taking so many other different things. I brought in the products together.
Amazing.
But it's consistency and it's pushing through it. And then there'll be times I'll do it. 6 days, and I'll take the whole bottle in 6 days. Meaning I'm doing 20 capsules a day, a pair of 2 or pair of 4. I've done anywhere from 7 to 10 dropper fulls, 3-4 times a day of a pair of 3. Now, these are very aggressive doses. I'm not going to recommend this to people. You need to be sure your body's ready and prepared for that. And that's where working with Karen or a practitioner can really help. And or understanding your body, where I took products for a long time before I ever did doses that high. And so the more parasites you have, the more reaction you're going to have. Therefore, I took, low dosing, extended, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then rotate off, go into another one of the other products, go through those, go through that. And then eventually I did it to where I was doing the full moon protocol at higher dosing, to where I was really knocking things out.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, a lot of people think, I can only take this, during the full moon. I can only do the either 3, 5, or 7 day, challenge. But that's not true. I mean, I have people just stay on the kit, for a very long period of, or kit after kit after kit, consecutively. And sometimes it's just really low and slow. Sometimes we just have to keep going, especially because I seem to just attract the most stubborn and chronic of cases, and the people that have the most extreme sensitivities like myself. I think that's just sort of the universal thing that happens. So sometimes it is just low and slow, and then sometimes you can push it, and you were able to push it up to these pretty high doses, but that's where you got it. That's where it really, so don't be afraid. After you've done the low and slow and you're getting a result, go ahead and increase, and monitor with each sort of jump, with monitor, but don't be afraid to go up.
Well, and just going through this process, like I remember having a gal I worked with, and she was a practitioner too, but she had all these cardiac issues, super sensitive, and not even 5 drops of para-3, and it would put her in severe anxiety and heart palpitations, and 2 or 3 drops maybe. And I tell you, well, look, maybe the problem is you're just poking the bear.
Yep. Exactly.
Right? So I got her to go with 2 dropper fulls. And when we did 2 dropper fulls, it was only for a day or 2. And all of a sudden, this like crustacean looking parasite thing that came out, all these tentacles, was like right up below her ribs here on the left side. It boom, came out, and all of a sudden, a lot of these heart issues went away. Wow. So sometimes it's I do that with tapeworms too. It could be that you just need a high dose, and Dr. Jabin Moore talked about this with a patient that's really sensitive. He'll do 1 day. If you're reactive, you're doing a high dose, and then you go off for 5 days in the next dose.
And sometimes it is
4 days. Next time it's 3 days, until where you can take it every day. But it could be the fact that you just need to just give it a good punch in the face and knock it out.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm sure you are just full of like endless success stories. It's so great to hear some of them.
It's just, you're working with people, trying to help them get to that next level. So you got to do different things and different ideas of what to do to help get those therapeutic doses to where they're going to have success. Because if you're doing really low non-therapeutic doses, then they may never get to the success that they need. I mean, I've had one person that couldn't take anything, and I got her on just maybe a quarter capsule of Para-1 and I got her in 6 months. I got her to 1 capsule of Para-1. And that was a huge win for her, because she was bedridden and it was really, really difficult for her. But then within a year, she was able to take a lot of other things that she was never able to take. But we started, so like you said, low and slow.
Really, sometimes how you got to do it with
the work up, and we'll have success eventually.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. Anything else, Dr. Todd?
I think we've covered a lot of important.
We covered a lot of ground. Yeah, we really did.
Ideas with dosing, ideas with the approach, all the other side things you can do to help. And then, I think a lot of it goes back to that warrior mindset of overcoming this, and you can do this, and you're going to get there. And it's just like, it's not working with one product, switch to another one. Or if you're struggling, like, okay, I'm doing Parakit and I'm having really bad reactions, take each product individually and see which one is affecting you the most. Take that out, take the other ones. And then eventually you can bring that other one back.
That's
So
great advice. Yeah. Sometimes you got to narrow it down, what is doing what.
yep. And you may be on one product, and that's okay. And that one product will get you to the point where you can do two, where you can
Exactly.
do four.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go. So, a big part of life is how you approach it. And
Yeah. Yeah. And not underestimating the biotoxin binder, in this protocol, because, that's what's grabbing on to all this crap, all these toxins that the parasites, are the neurotoxins parasites are releasing through this process of killing them with the products in the Parakit. And the binder is going to go in there and just sweep, a majority of bind to all that crap and pull it out of the body, draw it out of the body. And that's going to reduce die-off symptoms drastically. So not to underestimate biotoxin binder, because we didn't even really touch on that much, but that's just a huge, huge component of this kit.
Yeah, it's been life-changing for so many of my patients, reducing the amount of seizures they're having, to reducing so many symptoms, to reducing headaches, to skin issues. I mean, you name it. You're mopping up toxins, you're going to get a benefit to it. So
yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Todd. It was great chatting with you about this.
love being here and love to support you. And I just appreciate the work that you're doing, helping so many people by educating them. That's a wonderful mission.
Thank you for just, changing the world with your company, and just being on the forefront and cutting edge of, parasite cleansing, toxicity, detoxification. I mean, it doesn't get any better than Cellcore. It really, really doesn't. And that's why it's, I see it as it's practically a movement at this point, and a necessary one for this world and these just toxic times we're living in, unfortunately, but there are solutions, and they don't necessarily require drugs. And here we are, changing the world one Parakit at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Todd.
Thank you, Karen. I really appreciate it.